What is up, everyone? Welcome to the divisional round. We're past Super Wildcard Weekend, not Standard Wildcard Weekend. We're past Super Wildcard Weekend. We have a mere 3 weeks of NFL football left. And then I'm sure most of these people, Dave, I know you love betting the preseason. Are you going to give me great Pro Bowl fourth quarter props as well? You're going to tell me it's the must bet of the century? I know you're in it. Now you're smiling already. You have all your Pro Bowl bets ready.
Pro Bowl is as bad as I don't know. I mean, you can't bet the Pro. I mean, I suppose you could, but I don't want to take the time. You know why I bet the preseason? Because it's better than betting baseball.
You'll never, ever get an argument from me on that front. So here in the NFL, not necessarily the best, because the one game, the one that I said I don't want to watch, was the only one kind of worth watching, which was that Bucs game.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, man, this round of the playoffs is like turning into like a college football round. How often now? People used to quote, "Hey man, wild card team, they'll win the Super Bowl," and they have to keep like quoting the Eli Giants and the Flacco Ravens. We did have the Brady Bucks, but man, does it feel like it's not easy to go the distance as a wild card team. We see these teams just catching beatings now, especially since they added those extra wild card teams. And now, fortunately, we should have a few good games on our hand this week, right?
I think so. Yeah. Look, the good thing though is if you bet, it can make anything better. But
come on, man, we could sit at a corner and bet on if someone's gonna come to a complete stop, a partial stop, blow the stop sign, and give appropriate odds on all of them. What would be a lot of fun. What would the odds be on just straight up blowing the stop sign, no brake light at all?
Yeah, right. Like if there's a police chase you didn't see coming. Yeah. But I don't know. Last week, it's probably difficult for you too, you specifically, and a lot of your audience who are big hockey fans, because like the 1-8 in hockey can at least make a decent series of it. You look at basketball, unless it's one of those odd situations where it's like, oh, well, the star player missed half the season, so they snuck in as the 8th seed and they're actually really good. Generally, the 6th, 7th, and 8th seed, 7th and 8th seed just get wiped out, right? If they steal a game, it's because, they stole them, but they usually lose in 4 or 5. I still think there's more parity in the NFL than there is in something like basketball. I think there's the least amount of parity in basketball, whereas in baseball, there's a lot of parity. If a team gets hot
in basketball, 5 years straight, you just can tune in the conference finals and see, is LeBron going to beat whoever the hell is in the East?
Exactly.
And then how easily are the Warriors going to win the West? I mean, zero parity.
I was going to say, you remember when the Sixers had like Andre Iguodala and Spencer Hawes and those types, right? Like I think who else? Thaddeus Young and I think Holiday too. They might be overlapping. Wrong. Maybe Hawes was before. Either way, they had a team that was like perennially 41-41, and they'd always sneak in as the 8th seed or the 7th seed, and then they just get demolished. They wouldn't stand the chance. Why do you think the whole process started? Because you're just you can be stuck in NBA purgatory, where it's like you are consistently a playoff team with zero chance of ever making a run to the finals, and that's no way to play.
Hockey by 25 miles is the absolute best, with football coming in a somewhat distant second. A mere 2 years ago, we saw the defending Stanley Cup champions lose in the opening round, Game 7 on their own home ice to a borderline expansion team. The Seattle Kraken, in their second year in the league, took out the Cup champ Colorado Avalanche. Same year, other side of the bracket, the Boston Bruins broke the record for all-time points. So they had the best record ever. So imagine that Warriors team that recently broke the record for best record all season long. They lost in round 1 to the wild card Florida Panthers team.
Yeah.
They were up 3-1 in this series. They lost game 5 in overtime. They lost game 6 and then lost game 7 in overtime. In hockey, it can happen rather
Didn't the Tampa
easily.
Bay Lightning have like the most points ever in a season and got swept by Nashville or something?
By Columbus. By Columbus. And
yeah, by Columbus.
that unfortunately created the monster that was after that. Because although they broke the record and then got swept, they went to 3 straight Stanley Cups after that, and it was like it awakened a beast.
You don't see that in the NBA. You can see it in baseball. In football, you can see a competitive game. But
Brady, right? Brady won the Super Bowl as a wild card. That was 2020.
Generally, you don't see that happening though. Like
you're right about baseball, right? If you have 2 aces, they can just kind of win any series, right? From what I remember.
Yeah, not even that. Sometimes, and like you can't really quantify hot streaks or anything like that. Sometimes if a team just gets hot, they win. Like you look at the Phillies, because I'm a Phillies fan. Like you look at 2008, they weren't the best team in the league. The Rays got hot. The Phillies drew a great wild. Don't get me wrong, the Phillies weren't bad at all. But if you look at the years after that, where they had Cole Hamels, Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee, who was the guy that came over from Houston? Whatever, the 4
Oswalt? Was it Oswalt?
Yeah, Roy Oswalt. Thanks.
Hey, I'm in there. I'm in there.
Solid. Good job. They had all those guys, and they didn't win one, right? Like they went to the World Series the next year, lost to the Yankees, and then they lost in the National League Championship. Then they lost in the division round. You get hot. You got to get hot at the right time.
Absolutely. So why don't we take a look at some of these games one by one? We're down to, what is it called in college? The Elite 8?
Sure, if you'd like to call it that.
I'm not calling it that because that top team that I see certainly ain't elite. So I want to ask you first before we get into these games individually, for the exact reason that you see on your screen, you see 2 pretenders out of all these teams, maybe even more, who knows. But because I knew, once I saw that the Bills were like a game and a half behind Kansas City, I was like, wait a minute, the Chiefs are going to get a bye. Then they're going to get whatever cupcake matchup comes up to them. Whoever doesn't win the division or whatever wild card ends up winning. So it's going to be one difficult game, and it will be difficult, but then they're in the Super Bowl. So I have a decent amount, like you see him? You see Dan? That was me. I go, give me the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. Because I was just like, get me to that AFC championship. I got these Chiefs at like plus 425, plus 500 for a Super Bowl. I can figure out a way to make sure that's profitable. Now that will bring me to my question to not just you, but if anybody in the audience wants to let me know, what would you do if you were me? I got a decent amount of tickets on the Chiefs, ranging at like plus 425, right in that plus 400 to plus 500 area. What's the smartest thing to do outside of that? All I thought of so far was I picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl, and then also like an exacta, Bills over Lions, Bills over Eagles.
Man, that's tough because you get the Bills and the Ravens. How much does
I'm sorry. The Ravens are they're not included in any of my hedging.
That's fine, but they're also like very live to win this game.
But they got to win 2 straight. They got to win in Buffalo, then win in. I'll take my chances with KC at that point.
I like Buffalo here. I actually think you could, if you wanted to get weird. I don't know if it's still on Draftkings, or on FanDuel where you had these. You had Buffalo plus 1.5. You had Detroit minus 8.5, and you had Kansas City minus 7.5. You could have done a 3-team 6-point teaser, gotten 2 of them inside a field goal, and teased not that I usually do this, but teased the Bills up to 7.5. It sucks that these 2 teams have to play each other. You think about it, like every year they have been any other era you play in. These guys probably both have Super Bowls, or at least have made appearances. Neither of them have made it because Mahomes has been there 4 of the last 5 years. Before that, it was Brady, right? 8 of the last 10. So in the last decade, 8 of the last 10 years, it's just been 2 NFC teams to make it to the Super Bowl, or AFC. while in the NFC, you've had 7 different teams go. It sucks for these teams. It's going to be a great game. I don't know. I like your play on the Bills. I do like the Bills a little bit more. I was a little surprised that they were dogs here.
Wow, the Ravens are favored?
That's what I was just saying. Yeah, Ravens are.
Did it open that way?
Yeah. It opened weird across books. Like some books had the Bills -1, other had the Bills +1.5. And now everything is kind of stabilized with, the Bills being around a 1-point dog. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Bills are home dogs to the Ravens. How about that?
I've seen Josh Allen play big in every single playoff game, every big playoff game that's come his way, other than the Cincinnati game, which was a random ass stinker at home. I don't know where the hell that came from. But every Chiefs game last year, these Chiefs are shutting down everybody. Niners couldn't get a ton of points on them. Ravens couldn't get a ton of points on them. Josh Allen, down the field score, down the field score, down the field score, down the field score. I know he's showing up. This is where Lamar never shows up. And I refuse to be the guy who tries to predict the first time somebody gets over the hump. I've seen Allen do this on multiple occasions. I'm way happier to take him in a coin flip in his home building against a guy he's already blown out there in the playoffs before. And this is supposed to be like an 8-degree game. And I know that shouldn't mean a lot for people, like who already play in Baltimore, but just that environment in the absolute brick cold. Sure, Mahomes dealt with it, but that was still a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This isn't Mahomes. This is a guy who's still trying to get over the playoff hump. I'm 100% going Bills. Sorry to cut you off and just go off on my take.
No, I'm with you. I would lean Bills here, but I actually, again, I don't usually tease teams up. But this is one of those spots where I'm entertaining it because
I'll do it. I think it's smart.
I mean, wouldn't it now it's going to be it's going to be like a 30-point game, 30-point loss or something. But doesn't it just feel like, these two teams who have been desperate to make it to the Super, neither team has made it to the Super Bowl. They both have one AFC championship game, and they both lost to the Chiefs, right? So it's just such a desperate spot for both of them. So you would just think it's going to be a competitive game for sure.
I only see a blowout going one way. Bills, like if it's going to be a blowout, I think or it's going to be a close win. It's just, the thing is, Lamar was the MVP. He had the great game, especially in the second half last year. Do people just delete everything that's happened before that? I mean, this guy lost to Ryan Tannehill at home as the 1 seed and MVP winner.
That's right.
Then lost last year, got like 3 points through 3 quarters or whatever it was as the MVP with home field advantage. Maybe, look, it's the NFL. Obviously, anything can happen. I could never do that. I am so unconfident in him rattling off 3 straight wins just from what I've seen so far. After round 1 in the playoffs in previous years, they're not even factored into my KC hedge. So
you know what's crazy? I don't know if I mentioned it last week on the show. Mentioned it in one of the Odd Shopper videos. I may mention on the show that the under in that game, which, by the way, boy, did I get lucky there because it was 1.5 points away from going over midway through the third. Lamar still never played.
Sorry to quote my Uncle Bobby. Sorry, I was busy. I checked the paper. Looks like I won.
Did it win? Exactly. Lamar still never played a postseason game that's gone over the total. That's incredible. And it's like, I think 8 games or 6-1 to the over. Pretty good. Now, this game, who knows? But yeah, with Josh Allen, I hear you on that. That's why we talked about it last week with the Bills. It's like, listen, if you're going to bet the Bills here, just bet the alt spread. Grab them at -19.5 or whatever. And that ended up covering easily. Because when Josh Allen, when that offense is humming, you can't slow him down, and we saw that. They struggled to punch it in the end zone early in the first half, but you saw them just easily moving the ball downfield. They stalled out in the red zone. You knew the floodgates were going to open. It's going to be interesting to see what happens against this Baltimore team, whose defense has looked better lately.
Let me paint a pretty picture, and then you guys tell me what happens. Let's just say the Bills take the opening kickoff and score. Let's say like Lamar gets a field goal, a tough 4th down, gets tipped, whatever. Then the Bills go down and score. Are we forgetting what happens to Derrick Henry if they go down multiple scores? So I'm assuming Zay Flowers isn't playing. Just, okay, if the Ravens control it from the beginning and they can continue to be patient, run the ball, what happens if they go down multiple scores? You get 50% Justice Hill, so the whole Henry factor gets mitigated. We've known this for years, but everyone will just delete it out of their head. We saw it week 1 against KC when they went down, and sure, yeah, they did almost come back and win that game. It was a toe, but it's obviously a whole different story come playoff time. If they're down 10 plus, are they going to just keep committing to Henry and slowly come back? Because what I've seen in their playoff losses, if they start to trail, they start to throw more, and there's going to be less of that patient running game. They had a great running attack last year as well, and they had to just throw it away once they were too far down against the Chiefs. So this is just something to think about if you think that Henry's just going to run all over the place. Is he even going to be on the field a ton if they happen to be down 2 scores?
Good question. I'll say this. If the Bills win this game, they're in the Super Bowl. I think if the Bills win this game, they beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship.
I just... The guy has too much voodoo, which, I mean, how you just said that is how I said, I want to see that bastard Mahomes in a playoff game with the backdrop of the Bills fans in their bill. Well, this guy, stone cold, took that ball down in that environment and scored every drive he needed to when that offense was garbage last year. So I truly, after that game, was like, I'm out of answers. I don't have answers. And if you've been watching this show and you've been watching my channel, you know that doesn't happen quite frequently. Josh Allen, what are his rushing yards? Because come playoff time, there is no conserving. He goes all out. He doesn't care. He'll run it as many times as he needs to. And that, my friends, is what we call a pretty high rushing total. So don't know if I can delve into the 45.
It's a lot of these guys too, right? Like you even look at CJ Stroud last week. CJ Stroud's not a rushing quarterback, but he's capable. And that rushing prop was at like 11.5, right? This week it's at 14.5, but we saw it last week where he killed the Chargers with his legs. All I'm saying is to exactly what you just pointed out. If you are not a running quarterback, but a capably, mobile quarterback like a CJ Stroud or some of these others, there's a very real possibility that you'll see a lot of those guys hit the over. Stroud crushed it, went 40-plus yards last week. There aren't a lot of those guys back here, like Goff and Stafford. I don't see that happening. But, anybody else, all bets are off.
Alex, click that total interceptions thrown, because if you think they're going to be down and C.J. Stroud's going to have to be throwing that ball, not as friendly as I would have hoped. But, interesting, in case you ever need it, Caesars offers alt interceptions, and you can take 2. And if you ever really feel, they give you pretty great odds on that. For whatever reason, if you're in fantasy in the future and you need anything but your quarterback to absolutely shit the bed, go bet the alt interceptions over at Caesars. They have random things that other sports books, many of them, don't offer. Like they're good with like the alt rushing attempts. Their alts are surprisingly decent, despite some of their other stuff not being so much. Let's go to the next one that was on the list there. I believe that was the other semi-fraud team, the non-Elite 8 Washington Commanders against the Detroit Lions. I mean, I guess this is why you get that 1 seed, to get a wild card winner coming into your building. What are you feeling here?
It's funny because most people assume that it would be, the Vikings, right? Or the Rams would have been, right? Oh, also, Sam Darnold is exactly who we thought he was after that.
Yep.
You saw that Week 18 game and you go, hey, that was a playoff game. It might not have been a playoff game, but that was a playoff game, and Sam Darnold crumbled. And
rattled.
Say whatever you want about the offensive line. That's fine. They weren't great. And the Rams, with that experience, looked very good. We liked the Rams in that game. But at the same time.
No, you could say you. I will take the full pie on the face.
We both were on the Rams.
Well, it's just because I had faith in Sam Darnold.
Oh, okay.
And I don't hate the guy, but he just came home from college and I'm going to give him that look of a disappointed father. I had faith in the wrong guy. He's still going to be capable of having good offensive seasons. He obviously has a high offensive ceiling. But once you start getting to your mid to late 20s, and if you just can't, I thought the turnover, the true blow-ups were kind of slowly phased out. He only had one game like that this entire season. But then to see what happened last week or 2 weeks ago, and then what happened the next week, he clearly was rattled and is prone to the prolonged stretches of big mistakes. I'm not buying a donkey costume for that one because that wasn't our deal, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel like one. So tough exit for the Vikings, and as far as my support for Sam Darnold. But how are you feeling here about this game? What was your lean and your early week predictions?
Yeah, the Commanders were a spot I got wrong last week, and they keep proving me wrong. Jaden, they keep defying the odds. Dan Quinn, Daniel, all those guys, Kingsbury.
Look, Baker Mayfield fumbling inside his own 10 had a decent bit to do with it.
Brutal, and
on a snap.
Baker had that sick ass run too. That was awesome. I mean, how do you not love that guy? Maybe if you're,
I could think of a few reasons.
Yeah, I got you, but. As a non-Bucks fan, I enjoy watching Baker play.
Yeah.
8.5, 9. There's 8.5s out there still. Like I said, the teaser interests me. The tease in this one, 6 points with Buffalo and Kansas City, because you get it at 2.5.
I'm on board. You say it like it's a crime. I'm on board. Why?
No. I don't say it like it's a crime at all. But whenever I think a lot of people tease things where you just kind of assume like it's automatic, but it's not. You still need 3 things to happen. I understand it's not a traditional 3-leg parlay, but you still need 3 things to happen in this instance. Get it plus 140, which is better than it was on other books, speaking about FanDuel. But it's still, I generally like to give out like the traditional side, the spread. If I had to, it would be Detroit. You would think this kind of Cinderella story, I know you do, that the Cinderella story has to come to an end eventually.
What were the other 2 in your teaser?
So if you were to tease Buffalo at 1.5, that gets them to 7.5, right? You tease Detroit, it's a 6-point teaser, gets them to 2.5, and it gets Kansas City to 1.5. Minus 1.5, of course. And Detroit minus.
I got news for you, folks. I'm doing it. I like it. I'm doing that.
I kind of like it.
I'm not a spread guy, but if there was one, how about this? Alex, if one of those spreads that he just mentioned was to screw us, which one would it be?
Oh God, I don't know. Don't ask me.
Come on, you're not giving advice. I'm just curious. Like they're like, hey man, we got these 3 in. Which one do you think is going to screw us? Who do you think would screw? So that you'd get the Bills at plus.
So it's a 6-point teaser, which would get the Bills to 7.5, get the Lions to minus 2.5, and the Chiefs to minus 1.5. For me, it's the Lions only because I can't get the Commanders right. Went 5-1 last week, and of course, the one loss was this Commanders team. I can't get.
Yeah, so it's a big spread. Thanks a lot, Alex, for nothing.
Yeah,
you're
happy to help, guys.
Yeah, quality insight. We appreciate it.
Yeah, just because what if they just come out of the gate slow, as many teams after the bye do, and they end up just having to win it at the end. I got 1 point. Maybe the Commanders come in with confidence, and they get up, and for whatever reason, Detroit has to come back, and then they end up winning a stupid, 28-27 or some 30, just some nonsense.
I still already bet it though, for what it's worth.
And then I guess Lamar, if he just wins and then like they kick a field goal to put them down 2 scores, the Bill, let's say it's going back and forth.
Sure.
There's a fourth quarter interception or something. They kick a field goal. So I guess that's how I would rank them. Commanders, number 1 with the potential screw job. And man, if it's Mahomes doesn't, I will. I know. I mean, that's borderline. I'll order that second donkey costume.
It's always the spot you least expect, too. So, like, the spot you're worried about will end up just dominating. and then you think you're in good shape. Here's the good thing: Saturday first game is this one, is that Kansas City, so we'll know in advance. But look, that's why the book they're giving
Another Saturday for Houston.
I've been ever since you mentioned that to me. I was at my hockey game the other day, and I was like, I was talking to my buddy Andy, and he's right. It's not just Saturday. It feels like they get the Saturday afternoon game.
Yeah,
Time.
the opening game when
Yeah,
nobody's watching,
game.
they stick them like, yo, just get Houston out there. No one's watching. Just
the
stick
moment
them out
I saw
there.
that schedule came out, I laughed. I was like, fuck, he's right. Yeah, every time.
Yo, they made one reference to it on the broadcast. I was like, finally, somebody's bringing it up. He goes, they should be used to this. And they said, I think every appearance has been the Saturday early game because they never make it far enough to where it's Sunday only.
Right, yeah, right. But you know what? There's no way you're putting this game Sunday night. Like that, the Baltimore Buffalo game has to be Sunday night.
Oh, I'm not complaining. I want that shit on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, right.
I really do. I don't want to watch this damn thing.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see, are the Chiefs going to do that thing that they did last year? Is Travis Kelce going to look younger again, where he's not just catching the ball and plopping down? Because they just pulled a complete 180. Last year, they looked like garbage offensively during the season. Then in the playoffs, they had no problem just driving down that field and scoring. Yep. So I guess we will see, because they came out week 1 last year, threw an absolute beating in the freezing cold to Miami, scored against the Bills at will, and then took the opening couple of drives. And this team, man, it's unbelievable with them. So I guess we'll see. I have little to no faith in those Texans. So
you know who intrigues me is Hollywood Brown. This is a team that, like, they've kind of just been surgical with the way that they move the ball downfield. It's not the same explosive team that it was when you had Kelce. They're a different football team. They're a different football team for sure than they were. I mean, matter of fact, you could look at this as one of those games where Hollywood Brown has had 7 and 8 targets, even without Rashee Rice, who's great after the catch and explosive. Kelce isn't anymore. Worthy is, but still a rookie. Hollywood Brown may add a different element to this. So we got him at 41.5. Do we have longest reception on him, Alex?
That's what I was just thinking.
I like that. 17.5. Yeah.
I think he's going to go over his 40. I think he'll go over his 41 or whatever it was. I mean, they've had an additional 2 weeks. So I don't think health is so much the issue anymore, right? With just slowly nursing the shoulder after the surgery. He got 2 games in. He got 8 targets in each of those games with a really low snap count. So when he's on the field, he's seeing targets. If we bring up his route participation and he's on for a higher percentage of plays, my guess was they were just ensuring that he was going to be okay so that they had him for the playoffs. If they loosen the shackles even a little bit, I mean, there's alt potential here as well.
Totally
just something to note.
Why would you not want him out there, Andy? Right?
Like, you want him out there for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm just to you saying that the lower snap count. I hear you. You would think he played 2 games in the regular season. He was out for an extended period. He was out for 3 months. You would think that they're just trying to get him, back. You look at the 2 games that he played. The target share was really surprisingly condensed there. It was 25% Xavier Worthy, 23% Kelce, 20% to Hollywood Brown. And then aside from that, DeAndre Hopkins had a decent amount, but nobody else. So, I kind of like it there. You want to play the 41.5. I probably like that a little bit more than the 17.5 longest reception.
Yeah.
I don't hate that either.
Yeah. I absolutely. I mean, the only reason I think he had that reduced snap count was to just ensure that he was fully available to go and in full health, but also had a little bit of kind of chemistry building somewhat. They said this duo had fantastic chemistry in the preseason, in training camp before that injury inevitably happened in the preseason. But I guess we'll see. Always remember, if you have to see it first, you're already too late because the next week it's going to be adjusted with the pricing and the totals and all that stuff. So let's take a trip to the next game on the old list there. The Rams and Eagles. Kelly Stafford is Matthew Stafford's wife? Is it Kelly Stafford? Well, she said, I'm not really looking forward to going to Detroit. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy that if I have to go there. Oh, yeah? Are you going to enjoy taking that trip to Philly? Did you see what the ladies got in the upper deck last game?
I knew this.
You may regret preferring to go to Philly over Detroit. Detroit, you had 30%. Hey, thank you for your time. Donovan McNabb would get booed off the field and a beer bottle thrown at him. You think it's going to be any better for you? They'll find you, just like they found Bosa's brother. So good luck to you, Miss Stafford, and good luck to your Rams, because there couldn't be a worse matchup, in my opinion, than old Stafford out there in these brittle conditions. Do you know he's one of those guys? I don't know if you feel this. When he gets sacked, I hurt. Because I just feel like, oh my God, this guy in his 30s, he just took a hit like that. He's not getting up. I feel the pain. Like when you see someone get kicked in the nuts and you just have that automatic feeling, I feel that when Stafford gets sacked. I feel something click in me a little bit. I don't think this is going to go well for them. I think they're getting waxed here.
Okay, so you like the spot for Philly, huh? All right.
I love it. Yeah.
I like Philly too. I do. There were a lot of 5.5s out there early in the week. If you have a good feel for a team, make sure you're getting it earlier in the week, because you will get, decent value there, especially, inside of 6. I do too. It's possible that the Rams, Sean McVay led Rams, and I'd say definite upstart defense that has been impressive over the past however many weeks. Like, they looked bad early in the season. They've been better. Their offensive line got healthy. But the Eagles still have, albeit no Nakobe Dean, that defensive line is nasty. Zach Bond is insane, and they have a quality young secondary. Also, as much as I love Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua is awesome, if Cooper Kupp really is just seeing this precipitous drop-off out of nowhere, or he's still – do you know last week –
he's done.
Last week – all 4, because the Rams like to have 4 tight ends active. All 4 tight ends, Higbee, Parkinson, Davis Allen, and Hunter Long, all had not only a target but a reception before Cooper Kupp had his first target. If you take him out and he's not the same guy, this matchup becomes a whole lot more difficult when you're relying simply on 2 players.
Yeah, and just the Eagles' offense is set up in a way. I don't care if you have a good defense. I'm really not. It's just, it's weirdly defense proof. Mm-hmm. There's so much running. You can do read options if they give you certain looks. If they need to, they have wide receivers who can take any pass for a touchdown. So depending on what the defense gives you, it's like your D can be playing great, but it is one of those offenses where, like, especially if they're playing from a lead, it's just, the clock, I feel like, can melt away if they're running it properly. They're getting all those tush pushes, which is a free first down, which means another 4 minutes are off the clock. I think if you're going to beat a team like the Eagles, weirdly enough, it would be indoor, where a team like Detroit can take the opening drive and score a touchdown or something. Maybe make the Eagles have to throw more than they want to. But a game like this in Philadelphia, kind of like last week, the Packers couldn't really get started. They get a turnover. Eagles didn't play that well offensively, but it didn't matter. They were playing from a lead, and they can just, that clock was just evaporating. And before you know it, it's like halftime, and Green Bay has nothing. And even though that the Eagles weren't playing well, so I wouldn't be surprised to see something relatively similar.
Me neither. I do like AJ Brown over 69.5 receiving, though. Quite a bit. Not just
That's
like
fair.
Strictly narrative because he's reading the book on the sideline. Right. You saw all that. Fine. But there's a lot of juice on that minus 150. But if you go down, I think there's a 60, minus 112. Sugar House minus 112. FanDuel minus 113. This may be totally conspiratorial, but it honestly felt like
Good.
that Philly defense was intentionally vanilla last week. They took no shots downfield. They weren't getting a lot of separation at receiver, which is a little bit concerning. But there's just something odd about that. I have a very difficult time believing that the offense we saw last week against Green Bay is just the offense that Philly has. I think they can beat teams in a multitude of ways, kind of to what you were saying. But AJ Brown, 69.5 receiving yards, is a big game. This is to get to the NFC Championship. My guess is he doesn't go unnoticed once again until he's reading a book on the sidelines.
This fucking guy.
It's wild.
This
And then
guy,
everyone
man.
goes out and just buys the book. You're going to read 2 pages and put it right up on the bookshelf. What are you doing? No one's
That's
actually
even
going to read
kind.
it.
Even that's being kind.
No one's going to read it. Why'd you get that book? Well, I saw an athlete reading it on the sideline because he wasn't getting targets that game. I got no problem with AJ reading the book. And I think it's cool that they just made a guy a bestseller overnight. They'll never read the book. But this guy went from like 40,000th on Amazon to like third in the bestseller because AJ. I swear this guy knows him. I swear there's something.
He had an opportunity to do, like, if you're going to do this, what if that was the most idiot's guide for building, like, greenhouse in your backyard? Just the most absurd thing. If you're going to go this far, you
right.
may as well bring out something that's completely preposterous. Maybe like a Gray Sports Almanac prop from Back to the Future or something like that. So I guess we're both in on the Eagle, and we didn't talk about what we liked beforehand, so there really hasn't been much disagreement with some of these games. Maybe I feel like you like the Ravens a little more than I do, but
I just think that this is a competitive game, and that's why I mentioned the teaser because I like that a little bit more. I would lean Buffalo though. Eagles.
And by the way, I didn't address this. I understand they played earlier in the year, random fall game where the Bills had a mail-in. After their big wins, they seemed to just see, it was the same thing against the Rams. After their big wins, they kind of just somewhat throw stinkers. You have to throw that one out, though. I don't think this game is going to resemble that one at all. That was a casual, October completely different.
But also, Rams played on Monday, and now they're traveling to the East Coast, so there is that. But I'd go Eagles.
And their internal clock it's going to be what you see on your screen, noon, which I hate that in hockey. I hate that in a noon game,
right?
For people who's whose head is on a different time zone. So like a noon game that's a pretty early game. And yes, you could say they have to do that throughout the year, but when you're looking for trivial advantages, the Eagles have a normal sleep schedule and it's going to be a 3 p.m. game, and this is going to be a noon game. Just something to think about. You don't know. That's a young team over there in LA. Maybe some of them, they're out later than they should be on Saturday night. You think they care that they got a game tomorrow? They can't stop themselves. They're young and having a great time. I don't blame them. How about some futures, man? Like, what are you feeling right now? What are you feeling for Super Bowl matchup?
It's tough.
You already committed to half of it because you think the Bills are going to win. Yeah. And you said if they do win, they're going to win the next game.
If I had to put a team in this, I'd say Bills to the AFC. Probably Lions. Probably
Bills. Lions. Well, you just helped me confirm one of my hedges, which was one of my Chiefs hedges, that exact matchup in the Super Bowl.
Eagles are very live, though. Bills Lions is plus 550. So then what's Bills? What's Bills Eagles? See, there you go. And then you get these crazy long odds with the matchups that are highly unlikely to ever happen, right?
And just for fun, if the Bills played the Lions, who would you take?
The total in that game might be 60. I'd probably go.
Look at Alex baiting you. He's got it on the thing.
I'd go Josh Allen. If Josh Allen gets there, I think Josh Allen gets the win.
So we got a plus 1100. That's not what I think. I told you the voodoo I can't shake what I saw. Him going into those buildings and I mean, there's nothing he hasn't done, this rat bastard. Even in that loss against the Patriots, he won that game, that AFC championship.
Mm-hmm.
But D Ford put his hand offside, and then the game happened to continue. So, like I told you about the Lamar thing, I just do not like being somebody to predict the first time. It's already been like 3 years since that Burrow loss, which he was up big at halftime even in that one. You guys know how I feel about the Lions. I think if they played the Eagles can just wither the clock and render a team like that relatively, I don't want to say useless, but they're going to be throwing more often than not, and that's a team that likes to run a decent bit. We saw what Goff is capable of in that first half against the Vikings, and we saw how many turnovers this Philadelphia defense can generate. So I'm going to go with a Chiefs-Eagles, which is plus 500.
A rematch.
Yes, and then I just think this is going to be the nonsense, bullshit fucking headline where it's going to be Mahomes beats two teams twice in the Super Bowl. He beats the Niners twice, and now he beats the Eagles twice, and he has 4 Super Bowls.
God, I hope not.
I'm sick.
I hope not, man.
Oh, by the way, guys, I'm not rooting for this. Like, if I have to hear Kelsey scream, you gotta fight for your right to party one more time. It's not clever. It's not clever. He's coming in with the Beastie Boys fight for your right. Like, it's not some original thing. I hate that I know it's coming too. Like, it's the buildup where I go, he's gonna come. Is it CBS going to commercial? No, they didn't go. Oh God, here he comes, and I know he's gonna say it. So it's only because I have those tickets. It's almost like me paying not to see it. I do want Allen deserves one. He beat the Chiefs. He beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. 13 seconds off the field, stone cold money drive. That's a win. Like, the quarterback did not lose. That's a win. He's beat them 4 straight regular seasons. He scored on them like nobody else did last year in the playoffs. He deserves a Super Bowl.
He does.
And I do hope he gets. I'll take my losses. I'll take my ticket losses. This guy deserves one. Lamar shit his pants against Tennessee in the playoffs. Shit his pants. Like, he doesn't have this brick of quality performances like Josh Allen does, especially in the playoff. He deserves one. He should get one. And that's how we're going to conclude this week of a Dave and a Dan. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We still got 2 episodes left for you. Dave, if there was anything else, if we have a little time, if there was anything that I didn't bring up, or you have any NFL bets that you know about?
Some props, some sides, all that good stuff. And look, we got conference championship, we got Super Bowl, and then maybe, sometime in the early summer, we start looking at some props and some futures. That'll be fun.
And I sent you that text. I was wrong by 3 receptions, so I just did want to clarify.
Crazy Pittman, yeah.
But yeah, I guess it was still crazy. That Michael Pittman was confirmed 92.5 catches, the season-long.
Amazing.
Prop
We'll unearth some good
Richardson.
ones for sure.
And I do want to say something I noticed last week. We bashed on people trying to, get Discord.
I saw that comment too, but I certainly wasn't talking about honest people. I was talking about scammers, and there's a ton of them out there.
It made me think about something, because truly, I don't give a rat's ass what you guys do. Like, for real? I was like, why did I even say that? If a guy you're watching, if you enjoy watching his videos, who gives a shit if he gives you all losing bets? This guy is a part of your life every day. You want to toss him some cash? Go ahead. I really don't care. I don't care if you want to worship Freddy Krueger in the middle of the night.
Sure.
Just don't tell me what to do. So I want to put a little asterisk there. I really don't give a shit. I'm not affiliated with sports betting enough to actually care. So that's just something I wanted to clarify. Like, I'm not telling people how to spend their money.
Me neither. I'll clarify by saying there's some really good ones out there too. Like, some actual really good ones out there that you should consider. Yours, guys like DKDFS, a lot of great ones out there. But then there's also ones where, like, them and their buddies are just betting each side, losing on the VIG, and then charging people $700 a month. That's what I was referring to. Have fun with it. Just don't let people, like, what I'm saying is there's actual. I'm not talking about just losing. I'm talking about
Like
actual
scams.
scams. Yeah, actual scam. It's abundant out there. It's abundant. So that's all. But yeah, do
You
what
think
want.
I'm not aware? Do you see above Dan? That's
There
I
it
mean, that's my whole life is avoiding those things. I've come across so many through the years that I have that. They don't make that. That I didn't say, "Hey, give me a scam LED." I had to find that. So that's exactly my stance on any of that. Do whatever the hell you want, whatever you enjoy. Hopefully you enjoy this show. Hopefully you enjoy your life. Hopefully you enjoy next week's show. Hopefully you enjoy giving us a couple clicks. Like the video, comment, subscribe, click the notifications, all that stuff. You want to know what I'm going to do? I can't tell you. I can't tell you. You guys know I hate asking for these things. I found a way to get around it. You'll find out soon enough. Make sure you're checking out Dave's videos over on OddsShopper. They always appreciate it. One day I'm going to need a favor from them. And then if I say, hey, come on, man, how many times I send people over there? Can you do me a solid?
Appreciate it, man. I appreciate
hopefully
it.
you guys build up some cachet for me. And hopefully you enjoy their stuff. They give out a lot of good stuff there. Make sure you're following Dave on Twitter. And I guess we'll be back next week to talk about the conference championship, where hopefully I don't have to issue any apologies. If Lamar goes off, it's going to be straight up Billy Madison.
Could be a great game.
You were right. I was wrong.
You're smart. I'm stupid.
So, yeah, you're good looking and I'm not very attractive, or whatever the hell the end of that was. All right. Hopefully that's not the case. We'll see you guys next week. Take it easy.